What's up, nerds? We're back with green.
Back for our second to last installment of this Theros set preview, or set review. Excited to go over green.
It's my favorite color in Magic, probably next to blue. I think that like blue and green together are just tied for my favorite. I think I'm a green mage that likes playing blue cards.
Yeah, I would say that it's probably my third favorite color in Magic.
Just behind blue and black.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending, there are some green cards that I'm not a fan of, but I think they're just a little too derpy. But there's a lot that are really sweet.
Yeah, I think that but since we're going on my favorite color, I just want to celebrate a little bit and.
You can only use that for so many occasions. If it's for everything, you just have a problem, right? All right. Well, let's get this underway.
Absolutely.
We've got first up, Agent of Horizons. It's a green and 2 colorless for a 3/2 with an activated ability for a blue and 2. Can't be blocked this turn. I mean, not really. It's a 0, right? It's just nothing.
It's a 0.
Yeah.
The next card is interesting. So this card is 3 in double green for a 4/5. Legendary creature, human warrior. Her name is it Athusa?
Anthusa.
Anthusa.
Setessan Hero.
Setessan Hero. So this card has heroic, which means Casey already doesn't like it.
Yep.
Whenever you cast a spell that targets Anthusa, up
to 3 target lands you
Yes.
control. Each become 2/2 warrior creatures until end of turn. They're still lands.
Okay, so this is the kind of thing we want our hero cards to do, right?
Yeah, like something that immediately changes the flow of the game or whatever, right?
Like you untap with her, you put a giant growth on her, she cracks in for 7, and then you attack for 6, and they're dead.
Yeah, this is really getting places.
Yeah. I don't know that this card is standard playable, but I think this card is breakable. I think this card's a 1.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little bit better. It's some better than some of the other ones we've had.
Yeah, I mean, there's something. This card has a lot of words on it, and it does something, obviously powerful.
Yeah.
So I give this card a 1, saying that, I mean, this card could bust wide open and become really good, but I don't see it happening.
I mean, I don't know exactly what we're going to do, and anything that could be used to bust this probably can break something else better.
Yeah.
But I think this card has, if more of the heroic abilities were similar to this, where they had an actual, real thing that really impacted the board, I would be a lot more impressed with them.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this card's going to see any play, but, I mean, I would not be surprised if it saw any play.
Yeah, it's well within the realm of possibility, right?
Alright, so we have Arbor Colossus. This card is 2 and 3 green for a 6/6 giant creature with reach. Are you a fan?
I mean, it passes the vanilla test, right? Its body is bigger than its mana cost. But, it's probably just a do-nothing card unless there's something going for it.
It also has Monstrosity 3 for 6.
Okay.
So the turn after it comes down, you can make it a 9/9. As cool as that is that this card's a 6/6 for 5, it's oftentimes the argument of Tarmogoyf that people call it the best creature in Magic, and it just can't be, right? It's just a guy. When it comes down to it, sometimes guys are just guys.
Well, so, Tarmogoyf is just a guy, but he's also, a 5/6 for 2.
I'm just saying,
he's the best beater, which is what you usually hear about Tarmogoyf. Not necessarily he's the best creature.
I've heard people say he's the best creature. Anyway, what I was going with this is that sometimes a guy is just a guy, and that's all this guy is.
Yeah, when he becomes monstrous, he destroys a creature with flying an opponent controls.
Yep, which is cool, but in the end, he's just a guy.
Yeah, very...
I mean, I don't know what they're doing with their flying creatures when you have a 9/9 reach.
Yeah.
That, he needed to destroy one of them, but...
But you never know. Could come in handy. You're at 2 life, or you're at 1 life. They've got 2 lingering souls tokens.
Yeah, let's go to the next one.
All right. Artisan Sorrow. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, scry 2 for 4 mana.
Huh.
I mean, scry 2 is more than twice as good as scry 1. Right?
Yeah, but the mana cost of this card is...
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
It's just out of hand.
Yeah, destroying an artifact or enchantment, we can just do that for...
Why can't this just be Naturalize?
Naturalize with scry 2?
Yeah, why can't it just be green for Naturalize with scry 2?
Yeah, I mean, the problem, like, you can't. Not every card can be costed for constructed, but I agree. I think this card has some availability. Like, it could do better things than it does.
Yeah, and it's not like like it's not like making a bunch of naturalizes really good for constructed make the world a worse place, right? Like, it's just a sideboard card.
Yeah, it's narrow, right? Like, you might play this, or you might play what's the populate one?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I know what you're saying. It's Sundering Growth.
Sundering Growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that card is, like, not broken at all. Like,
that thing makes a dude. Like,
yeah.
you get a card, you get 2 cards out of that card, and it's still
is marginal, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, who cares about that? All right. I'm gonna give this a 0 for constructed.
Yeah, I think it's a 0. I think 4 mana is just too many for any effect like this.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's still an uncommon slot is actually the thing that upsets me about it.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Boon Satyr. This is green and a colorless for a 4/2. So I'm at least a little interested.
And it's an enchantment creature.
Yeah.
With
Which makes me a
flash.
little less interested. Yeah. The flash is interesting. We actually got another "Would that be good?" tweet about this card. And I don't think so, but I think it's well within the realm of possibility. I've played with cards like Wolfer Avenger, who I think is better than this. But this card, I mean, it does have flash as an enchantment or as a creature.
Yeah.
So being able to like flash it in on a creature, make a block,
And then crush some nerd.
Yeah, sneak back in on your turn with a crackback and kill them. That sounds sweet, but it sounds like something that you're trying to do in limited, not constructed.
Yeah, I mean, I think this card has constructed application.
Yeah, I think that it's somewhere between a marginal card that won't see play but could.
Yeah.
And like
how different is this card if it's a 4/3?
Well, I mean, a 4/3 for 3 is like with flash. Like, we're starting to get into like a pretty legitimate card, right?
Yeah, just like add 1 toughness to this card, and it's suddenly probably just constructed playable.
Yeah, I mean, we're going like right now. I'm prepared to give this card like a 1.5. Otherwise, we're probably looking at like a 2.5.
Yeah, I give this. I mean, yeah, I think that I give it a 1.5 too. I'm not actually just gonna comment on the next card. I'm just actually offended. So you can go ahead.
Bow of Nylia?
Yeah.
All right, so it's a green and a colorless for a legendary enchantment artifact. Attacking creatures you control have death touch, and for a green and a colorless, you can choose one of 800 abilities. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. But like if heroic could be influenced by abilities, this card becomes insane. Or it does 2 damage to a target creature with flying, or you gain 3 life, or put up to 4 target cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library in any order. So what we're really looking at is a green and a colorless to put a 1/1 counter on one creature, which is a do nothing ability. Do 2 damage to a flyer, which is usually a do nothing ability. I mean, maybe like some sideboard if there's like a. No, I don't really like it, but I mean there's some potential that there could be some flyers you need to deal with. Gain 3 life is just another do nothing ability. And putting 4 cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library is just an absolute do-nothing ability. So I think that this is just a 3-mana enchantment that gives attacking creatures you control death touch, which I don't care about at all in Constructed. I'm going to give this card a 0. What are your thoughts? I know you said you didn't want to talk about it, but...
This is supposed to be... I mean, you can tell by the design of this card that this is supposed to be the birthing pod, or trading post, or druidic... how do you say that word?
Druidic satchel.
Druidic satchel of this set, and like this card is none of those things.
Yeah, I mean, like, you get lots of choices, but none of them are anything that we care about doing. I mean, if this has
I'm just offended.
Yeah. If it has any ability to make a guy, like...
Yeah, if it's 2 mana tap, put a 2/2 into play, or put a +1/+1 on a card.
If it's like 2 mana to put a 2/2 into play, like, that card seems really good.
I'm just saying.
If it's just like a Grizzly Bear Factory. Like,
I mean, Grizzly Bears aren't that good. I'm just saying that this card is annoying.
Yeah, it's nothing that I'm too impressed with.
I'm giving it a 0. And I actually am, honestly, I'm not joking about the offended thing. Like as a green mage, like if you're going to make a sweet Johnny card, like a sweet puzzle card, at least make a sweet puzzle card.
Yeah.
Don't make a pile.
Yeah, I don't think this card is a puzzle at all. I think that it's puzzling why it does all those things. And, like, It's also like this is not something I normally care about, but in this set, like this card is kind of a flavor fail, right? Like, what does it actually like? What does why does a bow get to do any of these things?
Yeah, it's whatever. Let's go to the next
All
one.
right. Next up, we have Centaur Battlemaster. We've got a green, and 3 for a 3/3. So I'm not too in love with this card, but I'm guessing it has a sweet mechanic, the one we love. Oh, look, it's heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets it, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it.
I don't know that you hated heroic as much as you do after doing this.
I actually don't think that I hated it that much. Like if you listen to the white one, I think the way I said about the very first creature with heroic, I was like, well, if this is like a sweet, this like could be a deck. Like, and then after reading like all the cards, then I'm like, this is terrible. I hate this so much.
So this card's a 0.
Yeah, I mean, getting 3 +1/+1 counters is actually probably the most powerful, except for the legendary one. But it's still like just making this one dude beefier. Like you're spending a card to make the guy beefy, and he's just getting beefier. Like who cares?
All right, next up.
Commune with the Gods. Green and a colorless sorcery. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature or enchantment card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. So this is the new mulch, is what they're trying to give us here. Or the new Grizzly Salvage, one of the two.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a mulch, right? You get net cards off of this.
No, you can't. But it's just letting you toolbox your graveyard is basically what you're trying to do here.
Yeah, and that's fine. I think that there's still graveyard things that you can do in standard after rotation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Return from the Underworld is fun of a card as that is. It's not Unburial Rites.
Yeah, I mean, you're more likely going to use something like Obsidat's Aid. There's a couple 5-mana ones that you could use.
Yeah, I like Bridge from Dreadbridge Chant. Is that what it is?
Deadbridge Chant?
Deadbridge Chant.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite graveyard interaction on your own side. I think all of them are kind of awkward in an environment with Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, I think so too.
But, this card, if there is a viable graveyard strategy, this card's a part of it.
Yeah.
So
I just had an aneurysm because I was reading Defend the Hearth, and I thought it said Defense of the Heart. And I was like, wait, that card's not in this set.
Yeah. So, anyway, Commune with the Gods.
Sorry, let's go back to I got distracted. No, the card's fine.
Yeah, it's like a 1, right? Like, if there's a graveyard deck, then this is part of it. If there's not, it's not.
Yeah, it's cool.
Alright. So, Defend the Hearth. Green and colorless, instant. Prevent all combat damage to be dealt to players this turn. Boo. Boo and also hiss. Right, this is just like... It's like a shitty fog.
I don't understand.
So it's fog, but creatures still die.
Why is this a card?
Why is it a card that costs 2 mana?
And why does it get sweet art?
Why is a card that's worse than fog cost 2 mana?
And why does it get sweet art? 0.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's a firm 0.
Alright, Fade into Antiquity. Exile target artifact or enchantment card for 3 mana.
I mean, Exile is potentially relevant because it can get rid of gods, but are we actually sure that any of these god cards are playable?
Not really, like...
And it's a sorcery, which I didn't realize before. That's even worse.
Yeah, I give this card a 0.
It's a hard 0, I think.
Alright, Feral Invocation. You want to read that?
Yeah, it's a green and 2 colorless for an aura. A flash aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. I mean, I don't really care much for the card. I think it's a combat trick.
I'm just offended by all these sweet artworks that are on bad cards. Like, this card looks like a sweet foil, and I don't even like foils.
Yeah, I mean, this one's just a 0 too, right? Like,
yeah.
This is just, like, I don't care that it's going to keep the +2/+2. I'm not willing to pay 3 mana for mutagenic growth. Hunt the Hunter. 1 green, so just a green mana for a sorcery.
Wait, why does it get to keep it?
What? Because it's an aura.
Oh! I thought you were saying that if the enchantment died, I gotta keep it. I'm like, I don't read that anywhere.
No. Okay, so Hunt the Hunter. Green mana. Target green creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It fights target green creature an opponent controls.
I give this card a 0.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most awkward of all of our color hate cards, right?
Yeah, I give it a 0. I don't know why green's fighting green. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Brian Kibler was very offended by this card.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
All right.
So read the next one, Casey.
Kara Mitra's Acolyte. A green and 3. Tap to add an amount of green mana to your mana pool equal to your devotion to green. So Spencer, your devotion to green is out of control. So what do you think of this card?
It's fine. Like, if you play Sylvan Caryatid into this, you have 7 mana during your next turn. So you have 7 mana on turn 4.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of freaking mana.
I mean, it's not a small amount of mana by any means.
So if we get something to do with that mana, it's probably not in this set. I mean, it could be. It's probably not, but
yeah.
Then the card gets better. I definitely don't hate the card. Like, honestly, I just wish it was Solemn Simulacrum, or Undo Giant. Undo Giant would actually be the one that I really wanted in this set. It was funny. I said I wanted Undo Giant and Wall of and Overgrown Battlement, and I got close to those, but I don't know that either of them are as good.
Yeah, it falls a little bit short. All right, so is this like
That's a 2.
Is it a 2 or yeah? I guess.
And this card's constructor playable.
Yeah, I mean, in any like deck that wants to ramp heavily,
Yeah.
it helps you do that.
Yeah.
In any mono green deck,
Yeah, if you were trying to play mono green big stuff, like, and get to like
Yeah.
a really big card, this card's the kind of card you want.
I mean, it reminds me of Somber Walled Sage, is the card that it like compares most to, I think. And I think it falls a little short of that.
I think it's better than Somber World Sage.
I think it costs 1 more mana.
I think that it's got a 1/4 body instead of a 0/1 for 1 for 3.
Yeah, but like you're playing it just to make mana. I don't know. It's fine.
I mean,
I
this
think it's
card can cast Tooth and Nail, and Somber World Sage can't.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I give
you-
it a 2.
you
What
just
do
have to-
what do you give it?
I was thinking like a 1.5.
Okay, well, I obviously like green cards better, so.
Yeah, we knew that going in. Leaf Crown Dryad, a green and a colorless for a 2/2. So, I mean, we've got a Grizzly Bear here. That's not a bad jumping off point for a card. Bestow for a green and 3, and it has reach. So, I mean, just no all around, right? I'm just not interested in this.
Yeah, it's sweet and limited, but bad and constructed.
Alright, now here's a card that's offensive to my sensibilities. Mistcutter Hydra. Green and X, can't be countered, haste, protection from blue, and it enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. It's almost like green and X for this card is interesting because I mean, what turn do you want to start being able to cast this?
So let's go off of the card that we just evaluated. So we can make this a 6/6 for 6 haste on turn 4 that can't be countered.
Yeah.
You don't want to cast this until until you have about 4 mana for it.
Yeah, you're probably trying to get at least a 3/3 out of this, right? Or
Probably a
4/4.
4/4.
So you're trying to cast it with 5 mana.
Yeah. This card's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
This card's probably a 2.5 or a 2, somewhere in there.
I think it's probably a 2.5. I think it's really good. I mean,
It's interesting. It's probably people see it as a sideboard card. I think that's wrong. I think if you're gonna play this card, you're gonna play it in the main deck.
yeah, I mean, I don't think that you're trying to use this card to like get in under counter spells or anything like that. I think that that's just like
Yeah, I think that
better.
it's gravy on this card.
Yeah, I think that it's a big creature. Like this guy has potential to get really fat, and he's uncounterable.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
he's hasty.
it's funny because like we were just talking about how like, and some people are gonna be like, oh, but Spencer, you just talked about it's just a dude. This guy has haste.
Yeah, right, and like protection from blue. So the biggest problem with like fatties in Magic right now is if they don't do anything when they come in. If you just like get Azorius Charmed into Oblivion, it's really bad.
Yep.
And this card has the potential to play around a lot of things. It can get too big for Lightning Strike, but it can also have the option to stay too small for Selesnya Charm, if that's what you're playing against.
Yeah, I like this card. It gives you options. It's a weird card.
It's a Swiss Army knife card. It almost, like, in a weird way, the card that this reminds me of is Green Sun Zenith. Because it's good, like, in a wide range of turns.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we have Nissan Corsair. Or Nissan. It's Nessin?
Nessian?
Nessian.
What?
It's a Nissan of Corsairs.
Okay. You're out of order for me again.
Because the Asp is probably first.
I have actually 2 cards ahead of that. I have Nemesis of Mortals, because mine is going by a collector's number in the alphabet.
I mean, that would make sense. Let's go off of Nemesis of Mortals.
Alright, so this is green, and 4 for a 5/5. And it costs 1 colorless mana less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard.
Oh, that seems good.
Yeah, that's interesting. We're definitely getting somewhere with this card. Monstrosity 5, so it gets fat once it's monstrous. It's a 10/10. And it costs green, and 7, and also costs 1 less to activate for each creature card in your graveyard.
So I didn't actually read this card until just now.
Neither did I.
This card seems fine.
So I was actually wondering when we were going to get to the card, because Mark Rosewater wrote an article about, like, in the preview to Theros or whatever it was called, the Planeswalker's Guide, and he said that we were going to have a 5/5 for castable for green. And I was wondering when we were going to find the card in the set, because I haven't actually looked at a lot of these cards yet. Yeah, I mean, you're obviously very interested in establishing a graveyard presence with this card, so that makes me a little skeptical. But I mean, again, we're playing this probably with
the biggest problem is that it's targeted cards, right? Like, somebody can rip your graveyard to shreds of creatures and stop you, but the card is definitely not unplayable.
Yeah, but I mean, they have to do it proactively. In fairness, like if you're playing like Reanimator, some sort of Reanimator effect, if I can exile it in response to you, trying to reanimate it. This, once it's on the stack, like, there's nothing I can do about it.
That's
So
true.
I have to tear your graveyard to shreds proactively.
Yeah.
So I'm possibly wasting turns and mana doing something like that. So that's why I do think this card is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not putting this card in a 0 category.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is, like, pretty much a textbook 1, right? It's 5/5 for 6, which is bad. But, like, as
it could be a 5/5 for 2,
but yeah,
and then you could untap.
It could be a 10/10 for 4, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the nut high with this deck, or with this card, is a 10/10 for 4.
All right, let's offend Spencer some more. Let's go on to the next one. I think we both agree that card's a 1.
Yeah, but it's another one that's like a high one. All right.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? Like, that card's upside is
through the roof.
Yeah.
All right, Nessian Asp. It's a green and 4 for a 4/5 with a reach, and Monstrosity for 4 for 7 mana, and it just does nothing when it's monstrous.
0.
Yeah, this card is just bad.
I'm also going to give the Centaur Courser a 0.
Proactively.
Yeah.
It's a green and 2 colorless for 3/3, no words.
Yeah, it's just not as good as Centaur Healer.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's just bad. This is actually a reprint from Future Sight.
Which was the biggest troll Mark Rosewater has actually ever given.
Yeah, he said that there was going to be a future shifted card in Theros, and that it was going to have an enchantment sub-theme, basically in the same announcement. And so everybody thought it was going to be Daybreak Coronet. For the record, I'm pretty glad it's not Daybreak Coronet, but...
I mean, it would make Heroic a lot different, right?
Yeah. I mean...
If you're going Guy, untap, put a Ethereal Armor on it, put a
Daybreak
Coronet on it, and then attacking for 27,000...
Yeah, I mean, what if this is like a Fencing Ace or something? Like, that's pretty hurtful, right? So
Fencing Ace becomes a 2/2 double strike, and then becomes a 6/6 double strike?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or, yes, that. So, yeah, I mean, that card's just a 0. It's a vanilla 3/3.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go on to another card Spencer doesn't want to talk about.
Nylia, God of the Hunt. So most of these gods have been pretty underwhelming. Let's see where this one falls. It's a green and 3 for a 6/6, indestructible. You know the drill with gods. Have to have 5 green symbols to make it a creature. Activated ability, green and 3. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and other creatures you control have trample. It's just a do nothing card.
I mean, like, because it's in green and you can play like Colonian Tusker and like mono green beatdown.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think devotion to green is like one of the easiest devotions to achieve.
Yeah, so like having a 6/6 is cool, but the problem is it's just gonna be a 6/6, and that's the worst.
And so like I think that people tend to overrate cards with activated abilities.
Well, this activated ability doesn't do anything, so that's really hard to overrate it.
Yeah, right? But again, like, if Heroic was affected by targeted abilities, like, we have, like, some game here, right? And I think that this, like, the whole mechanic just falls short. I mean, it's maybe, like, too good if you can, like, do things like this and go infinite with activated abilities somehow. But, I don't know, I think the whole thing, I mean, this card is just, like, a 0, right? It's just a do-nothing card.
I think this card's probably a 0.5, meaning that some mono green deck could play it, but I'm honestly offended. I wanted these gods to be like Titan good, and the fact that these gods aren't as good as the Titans from the core set, and these things are gods.
Yeah, like, literal gods. They and the problem is like, not only are they like super marginal for standard, right? They're just never really going to be where we want to be. They have a 0% chance of ever seeing play in either of our non-rotating formats.
I mean, other than the blue one, right?
The blue one is we agree that that's maybe a one of in Legacy Merfolk, and I guess it could be the same one of in Modern Merfolk.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's pretty it's not like somebody's going. It's not that card's never like more than like $5.
The thing about that card, the blue one, is that in Merfolk, like smoothing out your draws is so good in so many matchups, and then like
yeah, I mean you would play like just like an artifact that was like 3 mana, scry 1.
Yeah, and the fact that you can like put it in off of your Ether Vial,
yeah.
and like there's plenty, and like the card's mana cost is like its greatest contributor.
Aggressive. Yeah.
So
the rest of them are way overcosted.
Yeah, I don't like this card.
Yeah.
I
Some 0 or 0.5.
Yeah, I mean if this card entered the
there's something on yeah.
Like at the beginning of your upkeep, search your library for a land card, put it into your hand. Like that's a card.
Yeah, I mean that definitely like prevents you from getting mana screwed, which is sweet. I mean it doesn't really. Yeah, I mean like any like derpy ramp deck would play that card. So
I mean the ramp decks don't want that card, but it's like it becomes more interesting,
or
and
not like ramp, but like just decks that are just trying to go bigger and bigger all the time.
Yeah.
All right. So Nylea's Disciple is our next card. It's a green and 2 for a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to your devotion to green. Again, is this just another like
it's
card
just
that's
not Centaur Healer? Yeah.
Yeah, and like I am actually really upset by how many times we've said today this card is a worse version of Centaur Healer. Because Centaur Healer is not a great card. It's like it's a good card. It's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of bad Centaur Healers in this set. And
there are.
That makes me really uncomfortable.
I want bad Thragtusks. Can we have bad Thragtusks? Let's just have Thragtusks that don't say when it leaves play.
Yeah, just if Thragtusk just said dies, like that's a much more reasonable card.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Let's do that.
All right. Here's a card that offends me also, just because it's bad. Green and 3 colorless for a 3/3. Enchantment creature cat. Nylea's Emissary. Green and 5 for bestow. Has trample. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and trample. So it's just another like
egg?
way overcosted.
It's an egg.
Yeah, the bestow is way overcosted, just like every other one, and the creature itself is overcosted. Just not interested. 0.
All right, next one.
Nylea's Presence, green and a colorless, enchantment aura, enchant land. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted land is every basic land type in addition to its other types. Okay.
So this card's like abundant growth, but has some play with other cards like if you want to play like a Naya control-y mid-range deck, this card has some amount of play with like the Chain of the Rocks. It has some amount of play with some other cards.
I feel like loading up this one land with infinite enchantments is awkward.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure though.
This card actually reminds me more of like Spreading Seas than anything else.
I wish this card was Spreading Seas.
It's just a worse version of it, right?
Yeah.
But it comes in if your like land walk is ever relevant, it does that. And it replaces itself. I mean, I think the card is a do nothing card though.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish it was better, but it's probably a 0.
Yeah, I mean it's 0. Like being able.
You know what? We have a problem.
What?
Just this ordeal makes me really upset, and I'm just offended by a lot of these green cards.
Yeah.
And I sound depressed on this cast, and it's like it's not that I'm depressed. It's just like like all of these cards could be so much better. Are we giving Naya's the presence a 0?
Yeah, I mean I feel like it's just not worth anything. It's not. This effect would never be worth playing a card in a deck.
I could see a situation where you would play it, but it's very niche. Very, very niche. Give it a 0.5.
I think it's worse than that. It's like a 0.25.
Okay.
All right. Ordeal of Nylea. Green and a colorless. You know the deal with these ordeals. When you sacrifice it, search your library for 2 basic land cards and put them into the battlefield tapped. I think it's like the best one of them, and it's really bad.
I just add a mana cost to it. Add any color. Just add any color mana. I don't even care what the color is.
So like green, black, and 1 put 2 lands on the battlefield untapped from your library or tapped from your library.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that seems sweet.
Like, just give us. It's like a little bit better than Cultivate, and that card saw a ton of play. But let us play with spells.
Yeah,
Ugh.
like why does this exactly why do these all need to have
The stupid.
creatures?
Yeah, like why do they all have to have this thing that makes them bad?
Yeah, because the effects are all fairly reasonable.
Yeah, it's none of the effects are busted.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, needing to attack with a creature 3 times to get this effect.
Yeah, I'll give it a 0.
Yeah, I agree. They're all zeros. All the origins are zeros. Now that we've seen all of them, they're all bad. Theros bans Centaurs. Green and 4 for 3/7, no words. 0. Next card. Polycranos World Eater. Green and 2 for a 5/5.
So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, this is better than, or this is at least Deadbridge Goliath, which is a reasonable card. It never, saw the right amount of play because Thragtusk was infinitely better than it. But we'll see about this one. Monstrosity X. So this is, our first really interesting monstrous card. So you pay a green and XX to put X counters on it. And when you do, it does X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures your opponents control. Each of those creatures deals damage to Poly.
What does it deal its damage according to?
What?
Oh, sorry about that. I just lost a spot.
Why did it as you choose among any number of target creatures your opponents control?
Oh, and X being
half of what you paid for the monsters, basically. So
yeah,
you're paying XX, you're getting X worth of damage.
Okay, that's what I thought it did.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of this card, Casey?
I mean, it's a powerful card. It is big, it kills stuff, but it doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield, is my objection to it. And you have to pay, a lot of mana to really make this card impressive. I'm thinking that most of the time you're going to be playing 2 as your X, because you can do that the turn after it comes down. Then you've got a 7/7, and you kill a grizzly bear, or some X2 creature or something. I don't know. I think that any 4 drops are where cards have to start getting really good, as creatures, because that's when they're in town just in time to get wrathed away. And
okay.
I think that this creature just doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield, so I don't really care for it for that reason.
So what do you rate it?
I'm probably rating this a 1.5 or a 2. I think it's too good to be a 0 or a 1 as far as just a 5/5 for 4, but it's just a guide to me.
So after Pro Tour testing, yesterday, this was actually the second best card we tested.
Really?
Yes. It was good against multiple decks. Even as a 5/5 for 4, it was good against the control deck. They have to spend a card to kill it, and it's not that's that bad for you. They're usually spending 3 mana to kill it because of Tension Sphere, and if they're spending 1 on this card, it's with an enchantment. I mean, the card's just the card's really big, and it definitely was way better against the aggro decks than you would ever expect it to be.
I mean, I think that against aggro decks is exactly what you wanted.
Yeah. But I'm saying it's better than I thought it was going to be against aggro.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
this card instantly went from a 2 to a 3 in one of the lists we were playing, and we thought about playing 4 of it, even though it was legendary. Very much one of those cards that wins you games that you shouldn't be winning. It's very similar to a card that we had recently in Olivia in that respect, in that you just were surprised at how much work it did.
Yeah, but I mean, this card falls well short of Olivia Voltaire, right?
Yeah, probably. But I think that the cards are getting a little bit worse. So that in the context of its standard format, I'm giving this card a 4.
Okay. I mean, I mind really thinking about its matchup against Mono Red. I want to come back and give this a 3 because I think that it's really going to slow down that deck a lot.
Yeah, I mean a 4/4 for a 5/5 for 4 is gonna do a lot against that deck,
and it's going to kill a lot of creatures in that deck.
Yeah.
So I'm prepared to give this card a 3. I think that it's going to be a viable part of any mid-green mid-range deck.
Yep. Alright, so here's another card that's stupid.
Alright. Reverent Hunter. Green and 2 for a 1/1. very low chance of me being interested in this. When it enters the battlefield, put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to your devotion degree. So very worst case scenario, it's a 2/2 for 3, and that's pretty bad. Best case scenario, you've overextended and
You have a
bunch
dude.
of creatures. You have a big dude.
And then they cast Supreme Verdict.
And then it gets dropped away. Exactly. 0, right? Like it's just nothing. It's just a bad card.
Yeah. Next up we have Satyr
Hedonist.
Hedonist. It's 1 and a green for a 2/1. Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, we can.
It's got an activated ability of red. Sacrifice it to add 3 mana, red mana to your mana pool.
I mean, I'm a big fan of rituals. I don't know how much I like this one because it doesn't actually like you're paying for this mana in installments.
If
but
this
you're not
card,
actually
if this
netting
card
mana.
cost 1 green,
If it's
does Storm play green to play this card?
like I don't think so, because that deck is already like really like that deck kind of struggles getting blue mana. So I don't know that you can afford to splash another color. I think that Goblin Charbelcher might though.
So what is this card to you? What do you rate this card?
I'm gonna give it a 1 because I think it is somewhere on the periphery of like sweet, but also just doesn't like you're not actually netting any mana with this card.
Yeah, it's like a savings account to give you 3 mana the next turn.
Well, it gets you 2 mana on the turn that you activate it
Yeah, sure.
because you're paying the red.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I give this card a 1 as well.
Yeah,
I think this card's sweet though.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like the idea of turning good for nothing green mana into red mana to like cast sweet spells with.
All right.
Satyr Piper is our next card. The green and 2 for a 2/1. Satyr Rogue. Target creature must be blocked this turn if able. Is an activated ability
0.
for 4 mana. 0. Yes. Savage Surge. Instant. Green and a colorless. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Untap that creature. 0. Like it's just.
Isn't this just a reprint?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean 0, but why are they so lazy with some of the reprints in this set?
I don't know.
All right. Next up,
Sedge Scorpion. Green mana. 1/1. Death Touch.
0.
0. Shredding Winds. Green and 2. Instant. Deal 7 damage to target creature with flying. Just 0. I mean, it's just worse than Plummet, right?
No. Because if you're playing against a deck with a lot of flyers, it kills all of them.
No, it doesn't. It does 7 damage to target creature.
Oh,
with
target creature with flying. I'm sorry. Thought it was each. Yeah, this card's a 0.
Staunch Hearted Warrior. Green and 3 for a 2/2. Heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets it, put 2 1/1 counters on it. 0. Like, it's just.
Another bad heroic card.
Yeah, like, why are. These cards, like, they all just get bigger. Like, was there no design space for cards that did something interesting with Heroic?
Yeah, I don't know. The design of this set gets worse and worse as you read all the cards together.
Yeah, like, I feel like Heroic actually is a somewhat interesting mechanic, but literally, like, with the, like, 2 cards that actually do anything other than make your creatures fatter. Like,
Yeah, so far, right?
Yeah, like, I'm just, ugh.
All right, next up we have probably the best card in this set.
The best card in the set.
Yeah.
Or the best green card in the set.
No, the best card in this set.
Um,
Go ahead.
I don't feel comfortable calling it that, but it's really good. Sylvan Caryatid. Green and a colorless for a 0/3 Defender Hexproof. Spencer, why do you like this card?
Dude. So
Right. And then it taps to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool.
Okay, so first of all, so when testing, we were just like, the fact that this card was hexproof was so annoying.
Yeah, it's extremely relevant.
It's just like, why does this guy have hexproof? Like, every game.
Have you ever played against a creature with hexproof that you didn't feel that way about?
Yeah, but but not against a mana dork.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Birds of Paradise is hexproof, that card is just insane. So, yeah, I mean, you always want to kill mana dorks. Like, whenever you can, you're going to kill them. Because they're little bastards that let your opponent do hurtful things.
Yeah, and this card's really good.
Yeah, and then, like, other mana, like, even if it was, like, just, like, your normal, most mana dorks are X1s, right? Uh,
This guy's gonna block
yeah.
so many dudes.
It's gonna block so many dudes, and like Electrickery is a card that we're like, if like Mana Dorks were a real thing, Electrickery is a viable sideboard card against them. But this guy gets under it. You have to actually play Anger of the Gods to kill this card, or Wrath of God.
This card's a 3.5.
Yeah, it's a.
When I say the best card in the set, I don't mean that it's like a 5. I just mean like this card will impact Standard in a way that we have it's just a guaranteed impact to Standard.
Yeah.
And that's can be said about a lot of cards. So
yeah, I mean it's basically the Farseek for Standard going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, it has its ups and downs against Farseek, and Farseek was a format staple. So the fact that it compares favorably and we can have a conversation about it in relation to Farseek means that it's a fine card.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. 3.5.
Okay. Next up, we have Time to Feed. It's time to feed, Casey.
All right.
It is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Choose target creature an opponent controls. When that creature dies, you gain 3 life. Target creature you control fights that creature.
Why is this worded so weird? Choose target creature an opponent controls. When that creature dies this turn, you gain 3 life. Target creature you control fights that creature. Okay. So, this is a 0, but, like, the wording on it is so awkward.
It's one of those cards that you wish the art was also, like, at least 10 times better. I mean, at least 10 times better on the card, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, like, the art is fine on this card. I just, fair.
Alright, I give it a 0 as well.
Yeah, it's a firm 0.
So, Voyaging Satyr is 1 and a green for a 1/2 Satyr Druid. You tap it to untap a land. I just wish this card was 1 green for a 1/1.
It was just way better than our
Yeah, yeah. I do.
Yeah. I mean, Arbor Elf is a fine card. When we're getting into paying more than 1 mana for a Mana Dork, we probably want something out of it a little bit more than just the ability to...
Yeah, honestly, like, if this card was just Sakura Tribe Elder, it would just be way better.
Yeah.
Or Sakura, is that how you...
I don't know.
It's something like that.
Sakura,
Tribe Elder.
Sakatumi, something like that.
Sakatumi. I give this card probably a 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, any, like, ramp deck, if there's, like, a really good ramp strategy, this could be a part of it.
I doubt it.
The
but
green-red, the one that's, like, a Llanowar Elves and Goblin Fireslinger had a baby.
This one's better. That one's better.
Yeah, like, I'm probably just playing that. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I think 1.5.
Vulpine Goliath.
6 mana, green, and 4.
For a 6/5.
Yeah, with trample.
And it's a fox.
Well, that's a big fox.
What's the situation with this?
That's the situation.
He's just a giant fox.
Okay. So, I want to know how this fox got so big is my first question.
He's a Goliath fox.
He's been hanging out with Axebane Stag.
I give it a 0.
Yeah, it's terrible. But
it's sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. And then...
It looks like a horse, dude.
I mean,
It's got, like, hooves.
Yeah, and it's like, look at like the trees close to it. Like, this fox is really big.
So Warrior's Lesson is next.
This is our last green card. Warrior's Lesson. Green. Instant. Until end of turn, up to 2 target creatures you control each game. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
I want to play this card so bad.
Yeah. So, like, this is another card that if our heroic cards are in any way viable...
I think that's what they were trying to do
with
with this cycle, right? I think they wanted these target 2 creature cards.
Yeah.
And to make, like, heroic good. And I just don't... I don't know. I haven't tested it yet. But I don't think it did it.
I don't think so either. Like, Curiosity is a card, you can play as an enchantment that just does this forever. And it's not very good.
It's pretty good with Nimizit.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
outside of, like, EDH Infinite.
So what do you
combos,
give this card?
Like a 0.5. Like,
I give it a 0. It's not really playable.
yeah. I think that it's somewhere between totally unplayable and if this derpy heroic deck...
The deck doesn't exist. We should...
But if it does...
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay.
So let's go over... I actually think that green was interesting in that the cards, there were not as many good cards, but the good cards were much better than the good cards in other colors.
Yeah. Yeah.
The good cards in this color
Like,
are better than the good cards in red.
Yeah, and it's only really like ever like the top, like 5 or 10% of cards that impact constructed in any way.
Yeah, so that's a good sign for this set for green, right? Like, it's showing that it's like, yeah, I mean, we got the you guys got lots of, maybe could be playable cards, but between Sylvan Caryatid and Paul and the Hydra, I think that those two cards are two of the better cards
In the set.
in the set. Yeah,
I agree.
so
I think that it compares favorably to like black as far as like the way that we've been ranking the colors.
yeah,
I'd say that it's somewhere between the second and third best color.
yeah, I think so. All right, guys, we got one more to go. Hope you guys enjoy.
We're going to cover multicolored artifacts and lands next.
Love me some multicolored.
Me too. This is when the cards get fun.